Hey, it's the little ajoll in your screen. Have you been waiting for something new in the post-apocalyptic video game genre? Don't get me wrong, I really like what we've seen so far. I love surviving in a desolate wasteland and seeing what's left after the worst of humanity is put on full display. And we've gotten some really incredible games that dive into this idea. The Last of Us, Fallout, Metro, Stalker, Rust, 7 Days to Die. Really, there's so many games that I couldn't even begin to list them all. I think Fallout is stylistically one of the best games in this genre, and if you asked a random person about post-apocalyptic games, I think Fallout would be one of the first series that they name. I have a lot of memories with Fallout 4, and all of those memories are linked specifically to Adele's 25 album. I listened to my CD version of her album on repeat from my laptop as I played it on my PS4. Every time I hear When We Were Young, I think of Billy from the Kid in the Fridge mission, and I get a good little chuckle, a good little laugh. But regardless of all the great memories, I think we're ready for something new, something fresh, new stories, new landscapes, new gameplay. Luckily, it looks like we're getting just that with Atomfall, a new post-apocalyptic survival detective game that's coming out in March of 2025. If it's already out and you've come across this video, stick around while I dive into a bunch of reasons why I think everyone should have this game on their radar and while I'm picking it up on day one. Well, I guess day -2 because they have an advanced access thing where you can access the game 3 days earlier if you buy it. But before I jump into everything about this game, I think it's important to learn a little bit about the people who are making it. You've probably heard of Rebellion Developments Unlimited or at least one of their games. These people made the Sniper Elite series, as well as a bunch of other games across consoles, including the PSP and even some mobile games. The studio was founded in late 1992 by Jason and Chris Kingsley, two brothers that were studying for their doctoral degrees. They had been doing some freelance work in the video games industry, and at some point they decided that they were ready for more managerial responsibilities. Once they secured a publishing deal with Atari UK, they went on to make Rebellion. Now the company deals in games, comics, TV, and film. Pretty much anything that has entertainment, this studio deals in. Their newest game, Atomfall, has some good experience in a range of games supporting it, so I'm excited to see what sort of decisions the developers made to differentiate this game from other competitors in the genre. Somewhat surprisingly, it looks like there's more than a few things that make this game unique. What I mean by that is, it feels like games in this genre sort of have a tendency of being half-baked, but also way overdone at the same exact time. Take Fallout, for example. I love that series, like I've said, but I think we all know about the infamous, sometimes funny Bethesda glitches that kind of plague those games. I think it's fun and all, but it's a side effect of Bethesda's ambition. And having ambition is not a bad thing, but sometimes that means you're purposely not prioritizing the player experience. I feel like the Fallout games don't really move the needle much when put up against other really popular games in the genre like Metro or Stalker. All those games are very combat focused and super militaristic. So for a game like this to be boasting about the ways that it's distinctly different is pretty impressive and pretty bold. Going forward, I'll be comparing Atomfall to Fallout in a few different ways, but I won't be including many other games from the genre in those discussions. More than a few headlines have compared Atomfall to Fallout by calling it the British Fallout, so I think that's a fair enough reason to try to compare those two games alone. Ben Fisher, the associate head of design at Rebellion, said that he actually did take a lot of inspiration from Fallout New Vegas for Atomfall. To him, that game was an experience that prioritized player choice without giving up the dense experience. Back to what I was saying about half-baked games, in my experience, it seems like big budget developers sort of under-deliver on the promises they make and then tap the whiteboard saying, but map big, and expect us to just be okay with that. Something that sets Atomfall apart for me from other games is the way the map, or I guess the maps, are laid out. In a lot of these RPG games, you get one really big map, like I said, where you can just explore and roam about freely. That's really interesting and fun, but I think it's really cool that Atomfall is actually a collection of smaller, interconnected maps for the player to explore. These zones are set in the British countryside as it's overtaken with creatures and characters that probably won't be all that fun to deal with, or really fun to deal with, depending on how you look at it. So right off the jump, we have something that a series like the Fallout games don't have, a new and unique environment. Fallout just sticks to what they know, which is the big old US of A. But just because Fallout has stuck in a single country for its titles doesn't mean that fans don't want more. You might recall the Fallout 4 London mod, a DLC-sized add-on to the game that lets players survive across the pond. It was a huge endeavor with a bunch of people of varying levels of experience coming together to make it happen. Since Bethesda wouldn't venture into the UK, the fans decided to do it themselves. By the way, shout out to Team Folon, the people who made the Fallout 4 London mod, for giving me a great example for this video. With Atomfall, the British countryside is a crucial aspect of the game's story. In some of the Fallout games, I feel like you can just transplant the story anywhere and it would still make pretty much the same amount of sense. But in this game, we start just 5 years after the Windscale nuclear disaster, a real-life event that has altered this version of reality in the video game. In Fallout, there's definitely some location-accurate landmarks, but the story doesn't hinge around any one area. I think a crafted world is cool in its own way, but surviving in an area that has a real-world counterpart that's not in the US is really exciting. I'm really interested to see what's going to come of the storytelling in a setting like this. I don't know much about the British folklore in the countryside, but I have to imagine there's a well of inspiration that the devs are pulling from and will see shine through in the game. Personally, between the cults and the creatures, the government agencies, and all the other survivors, I hope it gets really messy. The website even talks about the mysticism specifically apart from the cult, so maybe there's some like extra freaky supernatural stuff going on. The points of interest in the map seem really intriguing too. Windham is a quaint little village that has a killer robot patrolling it. There's natural caves throughout the landscape as well as nuclear bunkers for the players to explore. On the website we see some enemies guarding a castle of some kind. There's even like an Elphaba style effigy just kind of like hanging out somewhere on the map, so that seems like it's going to be insane. Plus I'm assuming we'll explore the Windscale Pile number 1 where the nuclear event actually took place. Even though the map is going to be a little tighter than we're used to for an open world game, we're not going to be shorted on any interesting places to explore. If anything, I think the tightness is going to help with the world building and the immersiveness of the game. Rebellion calls this game a player-driven mystery. We'll be playing as an amnesiac that must be brand new to the area because the people around do not recognize you. Maybe it's an overdone main character trope, but I love being behind the 8-ball in context. It just seems more jarring and more engaging when you have to jump into a game, not really knowing what's going on, but you still have to survive and figure it out as you go. To get further in the game, you have to find leads, information that's probably going to give us more questions than answers, but it'll point or lead you in the right direction. This detective aspect is really cool to me. Yeah, survival and combat is really important for like gameplay experience, but I think this extra level of purpose is really engaging. I'm guessing we'll have our main leads, like we need to figure out what happened at the nuclear site, and there's probably going to be some kind of antagonist group that doesn't want us to figure that out. But I also assume we'll have side quests that take us to every corner of the map. I'd love the opportunity to learn more about the world that was built, as well as find some cool gear or weapons that are tucked away in some hard to reach places of the map. On top of that, it looks like the game isn't going to force you to play any certain way. The website makes it clear that you can do as you see fit as you roam the quarantine zone. You want to peacefully trade with NPCs? Great. You want to take them down and loot their body? It's violent, but it's equally great. Different from other survival games, the only thing you have to manage is your heart rate and your health. Health, obviously, so you don't die, but heart rate so you don't overexert yourself and make it to where you can't run or fight or hide or whatever. See, as you do stuff in the game, your heart rate climbs higher and higher. Once you relax, it steadies. I don't know exactly what's going to happen when you max out your heart rate, but I'm the kind of player who probably will do it multiple times, so I'm excited to see. I'm more used to combat and inventory systems like Fallout, where you have a lot more that you need to keep up with. Main health, of course, but also like armor and weapon durability, environmental effects like rads, or crafting and inventory weight limits. A streamlined gameplay experience seems like a great idea, but I wonder if the simplicity will make the game feel a little dull, or if it swings all the way back around to show a symptom of more oversized games by being really repetitive in its basic form. It does look like Rebellion has an answer for that though. Like I said a second ago, the game gives players complete control over how they want to play. According to this IGN article, Ben Fisher says that players can play this game without killing a single person, a pacifist run, as you might know it. Or you can go through the game on a murderous rampage. You might have heard of that because it's called Needing Therapy. This game prioritizes investigative gameplay, which means things like combat give players a chance to make their playthroughs feel uniquely their own. Even if you kill every single entity that's supposed to give you leads, you can find a way to beat the game all the same. I personally found that to be a really strong trait, considering that most of the players that pick up this game probably won't be as familiar with the setting or landscape. Us Americans like our bubble for some reason, I don't know. Exploring these areas and playing this game how I want to play is a big draw for me. I don't want to think about the meta or what the most efficient way to play the game is. I just want to explore this world and see what's going down, and it seems like that's the entire point of the game. I really hope a lot of people pick up Atomfall. It looks like it's going to have the typical $60 release across systems, but if you're a Game Pass holder, you'll have access to the game on day one. I think this growing trend of having a game on Game Pass on day one is a great thing for people who are usually on the fence about buying a game. I think beefing up that player base early and giving a chance for reviews to fly in for more casual gamers is a great thing from any game, and especially a great thing for a game like Atomfall, which is entering a category that's pretty competitive. This game seems much more approachable than other big budget PA games, and it's already tried to separate itself from those popular games in the genre. Making the barriers to enjoyment lower are always going to be a good thing, especially if you're trying to build an audience around your video game, which is exactly what Rebellion seems to want to do. The range of playstyles, like pacifist all the way to bloodthirsty violence, set the stage for some challenge run communities to grow. I also hope there's a way for DLC to be incorporated into the game. If the areas are already smaller maps that are interconnected, wouldn't it be easy to add more to the game game to kind of flesh out the world. Of course, I wouldn't want them to do that if that wasn't the plan all along. Half-hearted DLC that was never going to exist in the first place is much worse than sticking to a tighter story, even if that means less content in the long run. And if there's no official content that gets added to the game, we can hold out hope that modders are going to try to add their own unique spin on Atomfall. It would be smart for Rebellion to lean into this idea if they don't plan to already. Games like Black Ops 3 have incredibly strong modding communities that keep the game relevant to this day. I can imagine a world where Atomfall has new lifeblood pumped into it constantly, if modders can create smaller maps that allow us to explore their own unique parts of the wasteland. Atomfall looks like it's going to be bringing something new to the post-apocalyptic game genre, and I'm all for it. My biggest question is if the writing can put the game on its shoulders and carry it to success, because it seems like Rebellion's really focusing on the storytelling to engage players. Like I said, I'm picking it up and playing it as soon as I can, so if you want to see some gameplay before you pull trigger on a purchase, you can subscribe down below. As always, thank you for watching. I'm the little ajoll in your screen, and I will see you in the next video.